Matt, usually when I first start these interviews, I kind of have my guest, kind of tell me, who is it that you are and how long have you been, how did you get here?
Mm-hmm.
But I think I want to take a different approach today. I kind of want you to talk about, the things you're working on right now
Mm-hmm.
first. The reason why is because, you know, you are a dadtrepreneur, fellow dadtrepreneur.
For sure.
And you're extremely intentional with each project that you work on. Obviously, I'm going to dive into what your story is and the obstacles that you had to face. But basically, recently, being the owner of Red Naps Burgers in downtown Rochester, you have truly elevated yourself as an entrepreneur through the power of social media and the years of editing and posting that you did consistently has accumulated over 400,000 people to follow you on all platforms, basically. And that's very impressive. And I acknowledge you, man, for the hard work you put in. And I think that's what I respect about you. So, in this interview, my intention is to kind of understand, what it is that you're passionately working on, but also, what makes you tick.
Yeah.
And I think by enlightening the world on your why will inspire them to cultivate their whys, because I think having dreams is important, what you do is important, but why you do it, the stronger that is, the further I go. I feel how you feel about that, man?
100%. And I think that's why I've always been grateful to have these conversations with you, whether it was at Naps or, doing the Louis thing, little bits here and there. Like, you're just a person that sees what I see when it comes to just wanting to get better. And it's not that, like, we're trying to be the best, in some ways, but, like, in other ways, it's like, I think we just help each other elevate, right? Not a lot of people in my life, like, read the same books and think about the world the same way I do. So, like, when we're in a situation, I just feel like I become a better human. So, yeah, I'm ready to kick it off however you want to.
Yeah, man. So with that, thank you for saying that. But two, man, what are you working on right now? What's keeping you up at night right now?
So right now, 5 years ago, I took over a 75-year-old restaurant. 75 years this year, so 70 when I bought it. Through that process, I made a conscious decision year one that I wanted to build a new business, something that scaled a little bit higher, right? When I realized, and I got the numbers in order at Naps, I realized it only gets to a certain amount. So I can build it up as much as I can here, but then I have to open a second location, or then I have to add a catering channel, or then I have to, if I wanted to scale it. So when I had that realization, I spent the last 4 years thinking of what is that? And I went through a lot of like test trials. Like I just dropped off to my sister-in-law these bamboo baby dishes. My wife and I worked on a brand called Physical Organics. At the time, I was like, okay, e-commerce, right? The marketing, they coincide. I can manage it from home. I can be there because we had been talking about having kids at that point. We could be there. So that, and then there was a couple of the e-commerce brands that we created, but I just wasn't it, right? My gut wasn't telling me go for it on this thing. So since October, I launched a new business called Restaurant Reach, where basically I show restaurant owners how to take marketing into their own hands instead of paying people monthly fees. And having people on retainer, you can just either do it yourself in-house in 15 minutes a day, or you can hire somebody where that's part of their job, right? Yeah. So they're doing this and that because it's only taking, 3 hours a month is how I've got the systems down to this point to get the amount of videos that I want to get out.
I hope you, the viewers, take this as another sign that I truly just, want to add value. I'm not trying to sell anything. What Matt just said is totally opposite of what I offer. I offer content for businesses. So if you're a restaurant owner, you don't want to create the content, you can hire someone like me to do it. But the fact that I'm bringing Matt on, somebody that says, no, you can do this yourself if you truly want to, or you can have one of your staff members or, collectively make that a part of the work description. At the end of the day, I just want people to win. I think there's enough for all of us to eat. When I was I remember flying over Philadelphia at night, and I saw all the lights all across. And I'm thinking to myself, man, there is so many people here. Like our own life, man, is just like a speck in
looking at all
in the sand on a beach, right? Like we're just the grain of sand in that. So like for me, I just think that there's an abundant world out here. It's not in scarcity. I think that it is abundant. I think there's a lot more good people than bad people. I think there's a lot more beautiful destinations than bad ones. I think there's a lot more kindness that goes on a day-to-day basis. But unfortunately, we live in a society where the negativity sells.
That's the biggest seller.
So how did you, man, become somebody that, can gain 400,000 people to not just like your stuff, millions like your stuff, but to follow you? You did that through positivity. I never seen a negative Matt do right video, right?
I was very intentional about the do right too, because when 2018 when we first met, I was going through just a weird pocket in my life, and I just needed to get out of the life I was in to the life I was in. So I made up this mantra while I just sat in my basement. Party was going on upstairs, and it was, you do the right things happen. And I don't know, like, it's so simple and obvious, but like that kept me going, because for the long time I would just not care what I did, right? And those actions got me into trouble, led me to bad. Exactly.
You were mad do wrong.
And they were leading me all in the wrong places, and it was so, like, I felt so stupid after I said it the first time, because I was like, duh, like you do good by other people, like good things happen, like you do the right thing, and so I just made sure that was just consistent in my head, and it took years to, like, where it just became me. But I would always say it because I'm like, I feel like, am I doing the right thing? Am I heading the right path? Yeah. Check my intentions. Am I doing the right thing? I know I'm doing the right thing. Yeah. Keep pushing forward, right? And so that's when I, instead of Matt Kirshner and putting that out there, which is my name, but do right just made too much sense, right? My first company was called Right Track Media. You're on the right track, doing the right things. Like, that's always been such a focus in my life. To just, well, not always, but when I made that shift, and then that's what happened. So
I think when a lot of people, I think we as human beings, at some point in our life, we hit quote unquote bottom. Mm-hmm. And I think bottom, what bottom is, the definition of the bottom is a point in your life in which you say, there's only up from here. Yeah. Right? It seems like during that time period, were you going through bottom, or was this like a little bit after you hit the bottom and you were on the right track? Like, what was that journey like for you?
I feel like I had a bottom and then like another bottom. So like I'll just get into it. Like, so basically when I was 19 years old, me and a buddy moved to Chicago and didn't really know what to do. We didn't have any money, and we were just trying to like figure it out. So I made a bad mistake by robbing my drug dealer. I went there to get weed, and we are going to take it back to Chicago and sell it. Again, doing the wrong things. Yeah. But that led me to getting arrested, and that led me to going to prison. So I spent like 2.5 years of my life in and out of jail and in prisons, mainly for like driving on a suspended license, which a lot of it was going to work. But like that big one, right? So larceny from a building, stealing cannabis from this person's house, led me to prison. And so like being in prison was definitely my rock bottom. So right before I went, it was like 9 months before I got sent there. And to me and my business partner at the time, the one that got in trouble with, not from that standpoint, but we were building a company called Make a Difference Entertainment. And we were trying to that was like my first company, right? Didn't make any money, but their intention was to build a collective of artists, of people just doing different stuff and elevating each other. And like, that was like our mission, but we were doing the wrong stuff. So like the right things weren't happening. And so when we got in trouble, we just said, like, together, we got to just lock in. We can't keep doing this. We need to start studying business, because that's what we've been doing this whole time, but we haven't been studying. We've just been like partying and like, doing the wrong stuff. And but like we were putting the work in. We'd work 12-14 hours a day recording and editing and like just trying to figure out the systems, but it got to that was like my first rock bottom, and him and I sat down and we just started going to the day room, which is like a TV where you can walk around. We woke up super early because, like, again, knowing that that's part of what you need to do, or a process of. We got up super early. The CEOs were cool about it. They let us in there by ourselves. We put on shows like The Profit and Shark Tank, and like we just took notes. We learned what equity was. We learned all these different little things that they teach in the show. They're not teaching, but they are, right? And like if you take the right things from it. So that was my first rock bottom. But I felt like I was like, oh, once I get out of here, it's gonna be awesome. And when I did, I ended up going through prison, and then I got out.
How long were you in there for?
So I've done a total of 2.5 years. That time was 16 months. So from start to finish, yeah.
And you were 19, you said?
Yeah, 19.
So all of your buddies were all going to college.
Exactly.
And you were in
Starting
jail.
their lives. And my 21st birthday, like I had a honey bun and like just like put some Butterfinger on top of it as like my birthday cake type deal, you know?
In prison?
Right, exactly.
Were people in prison with you? Were they celebrating your birthday with you?
Yeah, see, that's the thing is like, it's not what you think it is. You know what I'm saying?
Like
it's a different, exactly. It's a different world, but like, don't start no shit, won't be no shit. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just kind of vibed with everybody, but I also really just did myself. I paced a lot. Like, I just walked. I tried to like, again, positive affirmations, stuff like that. Not the whole time, but that back end of time, right?
Yeah,
and that was when I
realized you needed to switch some shit up.
Exactly. So I got blessed to go to this thing called SAI Boot Camp, and it's basically 90 days. Like, you can't talk to anybody, can't look at anybody. You keep your head down. It's a military-based, get your shit together and get out, right?
90 days?
90 days of, like, when you're sitting and eating at the chow hall, you got to keep your head down. You can't talk to nobody. Like, there's times to talk to people, right? There's, like, little pockets where, and then the further you get along and they see you're doing the right thing, they give you a little bit more freedom, a little bit more lax, right? So it's like, it wasn't as intense, but, like, you get in trouble, they'll make you fill a 5-gallon bucket of water because they can't make you do push-ups anymore. You have to dip your hands in and flick it on a tree and go, grow, tree, grow, until the water's gone. Like, that type of mental, like, like, but seeing that, and then, like, trying not to laugh because you gotta be quiet, you know? But, like, it was a mental challenge, but those guys put a lot of faith into me, and there was a guy named Daryl. Daryl introduced me to all the books that I needed to be successful when I got out. This guy was a self-made millionaire, worked as a, you know, corporal guy, you know, went through the military, whatever, so he didn't have a crazy income, but he got to $1 a day thing. And he said, just for this season of my life, I'm spending $1 a day. Whether that's if I can afford a cup of coffee or I want to grab a Kit Kat or whatever it is. And he was just racking up his money. He was learning how to sell his paintings online. He was doing all these things to accumulate wealth with not having wealth. And I was like, is this guy like full of shit, you know? Or is he like saying something good? So like, you know, Napoleon Hill's How to Win Friends and Influence People was on that list. There's a lot of books like that. And what's funny is when I got out and I was in that grind mode, I had just that paper lost somewhere. And I started reading all these books. And then like a year later, I opened up this thing and I was like, holy shit. All these books I had just read are on his page. He was like, this is a legit guy, right? Yeah. He had such good intentions to teach people like to like be successful when they got out in this situation where in most jails and prisons they don't care what happens to you. You know, it's like they're just like, oh, we'll see you again in 3 weeks, or see you, like it's very much that. And so like seeing people be successful out of it, I think it's like a 67 recidivism rate. So like after 5 years of getting out of prison, 67% of people end up back. And like that, like I wanted to be the other side of that, you know? So when I was going through this boot camp, I had to do that. So that was like my first rock bottom. But then there was like I don't know, maybe a year period. So I got out, I was 21 when everything was said and done, 22. And so from 22 to 24, it was all like me having to pull myself out of my old way because I really wanted to be this guy, but it was so hard to break out of these habits. And it was just so back and forth that was like the next rock bottom because I was still not fully doing the right thing, right? I had my hands in too many different directions. And so 24, that was my next rock bottom where I was just like, I have to lock in. And then so from 24 to 26, that's all I did was listen to podcasts and audiobooks and write and just try to build these businesses. Like I came up with this late night concept, like again, a lot of testing and seeing what's going to work, what's not going to work. And then 2 years later, an opportunity presents itself because I had been doing the right things consistently. I've been putting in the work and I finally knew this was my time. But if you go back to 22-year-old Matt, I got offered equity in a restaurant to stay when I was 22. They said, we'll give you 4%. You run the show just like you're doing right now, and it's good. And I'm like, I wanted my own business my whole life. Like, this is the opportunity. But the more I sat and thought about it, the more I looked at the numbers, even though I didn't understand them that well, I was like, there's 4 other owners in this. Like, I'm going to be the active owner. I'm going to be here every day. And is whatever that comes out of it, no matter how big we make it, is it going to be worth it? So I had to make this terrible decision where I was like, okay, if I say no to this thing, what have I been doing this whole time? I've been preparing, for these opportunities, thinking about this. But at the other side, I got to, like, make this decision. So I said no. And for 6 months, I was just beating myself up. Like, did I make the wrong decision? Like, oh, my God. But then fast forward a year and a half from there, NAPS came, and I knew that it was the right decision. I knew I was ready. And I look back on that time, and I think maybe I knew I wasn't ready then, right? I still had that 2-year gap that I was, like, not fully in. Like, I was too many directions. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at today with NAPS. It's like after 24, that rock bottom propelled me to be able to open that place at 26. So 22 and 24 rock bottom, yeah, 19, I guess, too. There was a lot, but I think that last one where I just, like, fully, like, I did something where Gary Vee's like, if you're hanging out with a bunch of loser friends, like, you're perceived as a loser, and if that's what, like, you want to be, that's fine. But, like, if you're talking about crazy ambitions, you need to, like, act like you're crazy ambitious. You need to do the work. And so, like, the people I was partying with, and, like, that was my life, was, like, work hard, work 50, 60, 80 hours for someone else, and then I'd use all that money and I'd go party, and, like, I'd work hard, play hard. And when I got rid of the play hard and realized I played long enough, 13 to 24 is a good stretch, Yeah. That's when the shift happened, and I sat down with my best friends, and I was just like, I love you guys to death. I'm always here, like, but we lived all together. So I was like, I've been talking about building businesses forever. You guys know this. What I'm doing is not driving me there. So, like, I'm not moving out or anything like that, but I do have to, like, I'm going to be very isolated for a little while. I need to, like, figure this stuff out. And so, like, 6 months of when our lease ended from that point, like, I went through that same cycle. Did I make the right decision? Am I doing the right thing? I'm, like, crying in the basement, like, writing down, like, just keep going, like, keep pushing. Like, a lot of people my whole life says I'm driven, and I'm never related with that concept. Like, from the outside, I guess it feels like that. But I think the overarching thing that they're missing is how I feel, at least, is just, like, I'm not willing to give up. Whatever situation I get put in, like, I just want to, like, finish the goal. When I went to prison, I was like, okay, I just want to finish this thing, right? Yeah. When I started NAPS and I knew that it was a 5-year intention, I knew I wanted to work as hard as I could, that whole thing, and finish this thing, right? It wasn't like I should get lazy towards the end because, like, I'm doing this other stuff and I got these 2 other businesses. And it's like, no, I want to, like, really finish these things and do them the right way. And I don't know if that's drive for me personally. I think that's more just, like, I'm not willing to give up until the thing is done,
That was a lot you gave me just there. Thank you for sharing all of that. There's, you and I have been known each other for, few years now, but I think that was the first time I actually, like, heard that story. Thank you for sharing. Mm-hmm. But there's some questions that came out of it that I wanted to ask you. Within those, the prison incident, mm-hmm. rock bottom, and the out of the prison rock bottom that you faced, there had to have been so many micro challenges mm-hmm. that accumulate enough where your emotional state and your just state of being is in that bottom for it, right? Like, when people say rock bottom, it's not just like rock bottom financially or how people perceive you, but it's also rock bottom as far as what you're feeling inside. And I think some of the challenges that I kind of visualized by putting myself in your shoes that you had to have gone through. Mm-hmm. One of them being how people perceived you.
For sure, that was tough.
Because, like, even when you mentioned to me that I went to prison, there was a even though I know you, man, and I love you, you're a great dude, and I'm so glad we're doing the things that we're doing.
For sure.
There's still a part of me that was just like, wait a minute, like, huh? Kind of like,
I'm telling you, everybody.
But not everybody has the privilege of knowing who you are and know that, dude, this is a good human being. Yeah. How did you deal with the misperception that people had towards you? Because I think your willingness to stay true to who you are and say, nah, I'm a good human, I love me, I know that God loves me. Mm-hmm. He clearly does, because the mentor that he gave you in prison taught you principles in life that allow you to differentiate yourself today in a successful way. So it's almost like if you didn't go to jail and meet that guy, you wouldn't be the awesome human being that you are right now. And that's one of the things that I love to preach is life happens for you, not to you. But it really requires you yourself to see that perspective. Nobody else can make that definition for you, because you can tell people who are going through hard times that. Right. A lot of people will be like, how dare you fucking say that? It's because what they're going through is really painful, right? But with you, even though what you were going through was extremely painful, you're able to project that energy towards something positive, making the world a better place, becoming Matt Do Right, you know? Like, you have created jobs for people who are working at your restaurant. You have, spotlighted people who deserve recognition. You've also shared your stories so that other people can feel inspired. They might be going through similar things that you're going through. So I think there had to have been so many challenges that happen. What challenge are you thankful that you overcame? Like, what challenge are you proud about yourself that you say, Matt, do right, good shit, man?
Yeah. Well, I feel like you hit a lot on the head, because like I was terrified to create video content, and when I was in the audio and I was in that pocket of like, okay, now I'm just locked in doing my thing, I was like, I know I gotta launch this podcast. It was when we met in that beginning stretch of time. But it was like, I knew everyone was going to look at me like a piece of shit, right? I knew that instantly if I ever told anybody what I've been through, like, I should just keep it inside and keep it bottled, because like I want to be a better person. I'm putting all my energy into being a better person. I'm separating myself, breaking free of these chains, but I'll always be a felon, And that's just the reality of what I got put into. So going back to your question is, I made this video of me sharing my story. And that was like the first video I ever posted on the internet. And I was like, you know what? If there's somebody out there that's going through what I went through, they might need to hear this. And that's who I'm talking to. I'm talking to the younger version of me that needed to hear this shit, but nobody else was saying it because they were scared to share where they had been. Because at that time, like, people weren't really sharing their stories like that, right?
You became the person that you needed.
I did. And that's what I try to strive to be every day, because going through those challenges alone and going through those challenges, like my family, again, like I was on my own from 17, you know what I'm saying? So like I had moved up north with my aunt, and then my aunt got sick of my shit and she kicked me out. So now I was up in northern Michigan all the way up here, not knowing anybody, and I just started walking down the street. Like I had a few people I met along the way. I was like finishing high school, but again, like
you needed to eat, you needed a shelter.
And that's the thing, is like I kept showing up to school sleeping out of my car. And like I had my dog with me because she made me take my dog too, so I would have to ask the teachers to like go feed my dog real quick, or can I go let her out and take her to the bathroom, like she's kind of just in this car all day, But it got to the point where like when I moved up north, dude, even though I had not gone through all those challenges yet, I was still being perceived that way. I walked into this school in Harbor Springs High School, 103 kids in the entire high school, and the principal, first thing she said to me, she says, I don't want you bringing any of your Detroit shit up here. You need to not influence my kids, da-da-da. Didn't even say hi to me. It was that. And so basically I had that tone set right out the gate of...
You had to have been pissed, especially at that age. You're probably like, man, fuck these people.
Literally. Yeah. And so like it got to the point where they're trying to find ways to kick me out. And so like they were trying to catch me up on stuff, and I was just doing my thing. And one semester left before graduation, I walked out of campus. I was smoking cigarettes at the time, right? Knucklehead, I've been smoking for a long time. 18 was the legal limit. I was 18 years old. And they still used that, said, you either sign yourself out of school or we're expelling you. And so like all the way up to the very end, it was that. Luckily, my business partner, also the person I caught my felony with, very much mindset of like us. Like he's doing great things now. He's doing awesome. He went through his challenges. He pushed through the other side as well. We still keep in contact. But luckily, he was there to motivate me, right? Because when that happened, we had gotten in trouble, and like, we had already kind of been in trouble or going through it at that time. But he's like, I'm going to get my GED. Come get it with me. And so like right after, I was like, okay, this school, like, they let me down. Like, I needed to go just do this and prove it for myself,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like there's a ton of challenge, but I feel like sharing my story was the biggest, like, scariest and hardest thing to do. But at the same time, when I knew that I could help somebody that's going through the same thing, like, anytime I'm on a podcast, I make it a point to share about prison and homelessness because of that. Like, on my content, it's still a little bit hard for me, and I will get to that point. But yeah.
But you know what though, and I think it's so important to understand. Like, imagine, like, if, like, I consider myself to be, have an attitude of gratitude, and I'm most of the time pretty happy-go-lucky dude. However, if I had to put myself in your shoes, right? Like, something happened between you and your parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did they separate?
They separated at 13. My dad went to prison, and then my mom was a single mother grinding her ass off. She's also been sober for 30 years, so that's a huge part of her life, right? So she's always at meetings. So as much as she was providing and keeping a roof over her head, like, she wasn't there. And because she had been sober, me bringing weed around the house, she was just like, I can't do this.
So that's so tough, right? Because even in that specific story, you were bringing weed to the house and you were smoking because there was a pain that was in your heart.
Smoking and drinking too.
You lost your dad to prison. I mean, for a 13-year-old kid, that being your hero, that had to have hurt.
Big time.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But your culpability towards it, towards that pain, was by numbing it. And I think that's what people, and that's why, like, guys like Jelly Roll really inspire me. Like, you can't judge these folks who are going through addiction or pain. Like, I'll give you an example. Our grandfather, he was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And he had caused a lot of pain towards my parents' generation.
For sure.
Right? But why was he an alcoholic was a question that I've never heard nobody, or just even myself, ask.
How was he raised?
Why?
Right?
Why was he drinking so much?
Mm-hmm.
Come to find out that there is speculation, a good chance that his own father, he was an alcoholic, angry guy.
For sure.
And he beat his own mom to death. Now imagine knowing that your own dad killed your own mom.
Yeah. Someone you're supposed to look up to and idolize and grow towards.
So, like, for me, I think it's very important to understand. And combining with that, you get sent up north, right? And now you're living in this winter wonderland that sees no sun, and you're going through some seasonal depression on top of all the things that you just went through, had to go say goodbye to your mom. And then now you're thrown into a school, and the first thing that they say to you is that. Yeah. Of course you're going to be angry. You're angry going into it. You're sad going into it. So I just think that, human beings, man, like I read this thing where it was like, like, you can take an object or a person and you place them in an environment. If they don't value that in that environment, that doesn't make that item or that person less valuable.
Sure.
It's just that the environment that they're in is in value. So when you take that person out and you put them in a different environment, which is clearly what's happening right now with you, you're in a much different environment than where you were started off as a kid. You had no choice. So, like, one, I hope this conversation brings, and I'm sure you've gone through your healing journey, man, but I hope it brings you and anybody who's listening, one, it wasn't your fault. Two, thank you for going through the hard part, man, and becoming that do-right, because who you are right now is such an impactful light in this world. And it's just, but because you are that person that can still raise people's eyebrows by sharing your dark past, it allows you to be this person who can stand in the middle and help each other understand, so we can all lift each other up, And so thank you, man. I really appreciate that, dude. And the second thing that I wanted to talk to you about was, do you feel that, life happens for you and not to you? Yeah,
big time. I mean, in the moments, it generally feels like the opposite. But most of the time, in retrospect, you realize that everything bad that you've been through is the reason why you are the way you are today, right? And that's why, like, knowing that now, I just try to, like, shit happens, it happens.
Yeah,
you know,
you
and
embrace
whatever
it.
is going to happen is going to happen. As long as I'm doing the right things, I'm moving in the right direction. And, you know, everybody has their days, right? I'm not like always like
Right.
kicking it. There's days where you're just like, and you got to talk yourself back out of like that feeling, because it's like, no, you've already been through hard shit. Like, whatever life throws at you, you just have to keep pushing forward and keep doing the right stuff, and it'll be fine, you know? But yeah, I don't know, man. It's been a long, crazy journey, and I feel like I'm so young, all right? And like even when I was talking about this stuff at 26, I was like, I'm still in my 20s. I'm gonna do this another 3 times, you know. Even at this point, you know, if we get lucky enough to live to 90, like we're gonna do this 30-year stretch a couple more times, and like I got like crazy goals to like live a long time, because I feel like I just want to see what it's like. We grew up in this like half technology era, half not coming up, so it's like, what's in 90 years gonna look like, you know?
That's true.
Yeah.
One more thing that I wanted to kind of pinpoint based off of your last story, and you know, based off of, you know, how you feel right now.
Mm-hmm.
In order for you to get to a point where you can start going after your dreams and achieving them and having vision and turning them into a reality, you had to take difficult steps.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a immediate switch of mindset, immediate results happening around the world. You had to change old habits into new ones. You had to learn new things, but you had to unlearn certain things too.
For sure.
So one of those things, one of the challenges, and I see these in all these books that successful people write. John Maxwell said this the other day on a video. He goes, if you want to go high, you have to go light. Let go of baggage, let go of emotional baggage, let go of relationship baggage, let go of them, go light, go high. Yeah. You had to do that. You had to tell your homeboys at the time, your roommates at the time. Hey,
my family had left me, right? Yeah. Everyone was gone, and those people were there.
Those are your family, so they were your brothers, and you had to have an honest conversation, which may not be an easy thing to do. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about that part, about go high, go light.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of self-reflection, right? And that's something that, because I was drowning my brain and I was frying my brain to get to a point where I wasn't thinking about anything else, I would just grind really hard at work, and when I'm at work, that's all I gotta think about. I'm you know, cooking at the time. I'm in a machine shop, like a couple different phases, chapters through there, working some construction. But like when I'm at work, I'm just doing work. I don't have to think about anything else, because I'm grabbing these shingles, I'm running it up. Next thing I'm grabbing this, I'm going here, cooking, same thing, boom, boom, boom. And then when I get out, it was just right to that party, you know? So like, it was in the moment of self-reflection, I finally started talking to myself and asking myself, who am I? All I know is like work and party. That's all I do. And like make music, you know, like that was a huge part of it too, you know. But then at the other side is like this, like I got to see who I am. So I started just scouring the internet. Like, I mean, Gary V, you brought up a mentor in prison, but like Gary V in 2017, when I found him, like so much of what he said is the reason why I operate the way I do. Yeah. Right? Because I saw him, like, I didn't know what marketing was, but I was getting told by the people at the pizzeria that, like, we want you to come on, we want you to be a marketer, you're clearly good at this thing. And I'm like, what is marketing? And then that's when I found Gary, and then Gary, like, has this huge marketing company. I'm like, oh my gosh, well, marketing is interesting to me. I really like this. This is something that apparently everyone tells me I'm good at. Yeah. And, like, I enjoy doing it. Like, I'm doing it because that's just what I feel like to do. And so, like, if I'm already unintentionally doing this, like, what if I did this more intentionally, you know?
Right.
And, so, like, you know, he was a huge mentor in my life, but so is M. Milet, so are, like, you know, Jay Shetty, like, all these people. I found these mentors to help guide me and sculpt me into the man I am, because they knew who they were. They were so aware of who they were, and I just wasn't at the time. And you know, that's when I got back into Pokemon. That's when I started looking into space, stuff that interests me that, like, I kept bottled in for so long, because, like, I was just working party, Matt. Like, that's just what we did, you know what I'm saying? And then so I just, through those self-discoveries, like, when I started just asking myself questions, and I'll tell you this too, like, 11 years of depression, right? 13 to 24, that stretch was so deep that, like, I didn't care. I didn't care to ask myself. I didn't care about any of this stuff. But I started talking to myself better. There was a 6-year window where I never looked in the mirror. Because every time I looked in the mirror, I would say some foul stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I would just wash my hands and dip out. Or I would just dip out and just avoid the mirror altogether. But the self-talk, when I started, like, finally looking in the mirror again and was like, you got this. You just got to keep going. Just keep going. Just, you know, and that was a huge shift for me. So I don't know if I fully answered your question.
No, you fully
because I went on a tangent a little bit.
You fully answered and more. And I'm so glad you brought that up because I think that's an aspect that us men really don't know how to do.
Yep.
Think about it, man. When we were growing up, right, you got a haircut. Oh, look at man coming in with the new haircut, thinking he's fresh. What's he going on a date after this? Or you dress up to school. What's he looking all fancy for, man? Yeah. That's how we roll. We bonded through talking shit.
Yep.
That's how most cultures men operate, right?
100%.
But we also operate by telling ourselves, you know, to be strong.
Yep.
Don't complain. Don't be a pussy. Don't
bottle
be a
it
bitch.
in.
Bottle it in. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
Be strong.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you bottle it in, it's just that you're bottling it inside. So the peace may be happening out here, but the peace ain't happening in here.
Exactly.
And I think that you talked about those guys, Jay Shetty, Gary Vaynerchuk. You know, these people we consider leaders in this world. They have a good sense of self.
Yeah.
They have a good relationship with self.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee also said, whatever you say to your body doesn't have the abilities to know that you're being sarcastic or
100%.
joking.
Yeah.
Or defend for you.
Yep.
It's going to consume that. So for me, this is a subject that I've been really honing in on lately is what do I say to myself? Do I say, I suck, or damn it, idiot?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I say, all right, challenge accepted.
Exactly.
Watch this boy go to work.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Let's get it. Like the body reacts completely different than those two reactions that you just gave, you know, to a circumstance.
And the problem is it sounds so woo-woo, so people are like,
yeah.
But it's so real.
Dude, it's so real,
So
man.
real.
And it's so real that you, like, for example, I'll give you a personal story.
Mm-hmm.
One day, it was a life happens for you to, not to you moment. One day I was going to do a gig shooting a setups for a client of mine.
Yeah.
It was at the big UWM building over here.
Yeah.
I was so excited to go. And I was like, who's the guest speaker today? And on the way in, you know, I had this prayer to God because I was going through a really sad and depressing time. You know, it was just like recent that that my dad told me that he was leaving my mom. And I was like, God, just give me a sign that life's happening for me, not to me right now. Because right now it's very hard to live by that.
Yeah.
So then I go to the gig and I'm doing work and I ask, who's the speaker? Well, it's the guy who taught me that phrase, Tony Robbins. I'm like, get out of here, man. Like, get out of here, right?
That's
so
not
I'm
just a
having
slap
this,
in the face, like, wake
spiritual-
up.
Yeah, spiritual moment.
Mm-hmm.
So the event, you know, starts and, you know, there was one specific part that I remembered was he asked the crowd, like it was right after lunch, and he was like, you guys ate lunch. How many of you guys are at an energy of 5 right now? Raise your hand. And a lot of people raised their hand. And he was like, you know, food, they say it's a fuel, but really it tires you.
Yeah.
So how many of y'all are in a 6? More people raise their hand. 7, more people raise their hand. 8, less people raise their hand. 9, less people raise their hand. How many of you guys are at a 10? And one guy gets up.
Yeah.
Ha 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 ha, right?
That's awesome, yeah.
He goes, the key to differentiating yourself from the crowd is by being that 10.
Yep.
It was like, boom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like all of the successful people that I look up to and you look up to and you look up to, Henry, I think they all have a sense of self-belief. Because jishin in Japanese, confidence, it's not how you talk, you know, kind of shoes and outfit you got, how you holler at girls. Like, that's not confidence.
Yeah.
Confidence is ji means self, shin means shinjiru. believing. So
Self-belief.
it's believing in self. That's what confidence is. So it's not, oh, I'm going to get that girl.
Mm-hmm.
It's, even if I do or don't, I'm going to be very happy.
For sure.
You know, it's not, you know, oh, I'm going to wear this outfit, you know, so I could feel good about myself. It's like, no, I can rock that outfit no matter, you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Like that. So there's a distinction there. And I think by establishing what confidence is, meaning self-belief, I think that's an important lesson that us men need to realize, because women, on the other hand, grew up, you do your hair, oh my God, you look so pretty today.
For sure.
I love those shoes you have on. Are they new? Mm-hmm. It's all about uplifting. I went and shot the gymnastic event, bro. They were stretching and warming up together.
Yeah.
Opposing fans were rooting for opposing girls to do well. It's a community.
Yeah.
You know, so I just think that guys like you and me, man, and Henry, you as well, man, like, we're all about uplifting each other.
Yeah.
Talk to me, man, about that part. Like, I think you're a great leader because you're constantly looking at how can I uplift other people. When did you realize that? When did you realize by uplifting others, I'm uplifting myself?
Yeah. So, again, my mother's been sober for 30 years, meaning that for 30 years I've been watching her go through the program, right? And when I was young, she would take us with, right? So I would hear these stories of people going through this, but I would also hear the principles, right? And I got to this weird shift when I discovered self-belief and trying to take care of myself and just inner thinking, and I realized that all the principles they're teaching in AA are the same principles in self-development, personal development. And so I've known these things forever. They've been in my head forever. And they cross over so crazily. And, like, I'm not, like, in the program or anything. Again, like, I was just telling you, like, I barely smoke that much anymore. I go through seasons where I do, but, like, I also know when I need to back off and need to focus and stay, you know. But with drinking, I don't really drink anymore. I don't, like, party, you know, I don't do any of that stuff, right? Cannabis has been the thing that kind of stayed with me just because I enjoy it. But yeah, so basically those principles, like, there was a huge shift when I started learning all this stuff and realizing that I knew a lot of it. So, like, there was so much backed up data in my head where I was just like, I need to continue learning this stuff, finding the people like we had spoke about. But in the program, that's what they do. They stay after and make the coffee. They set the table. They find people to talk to help get them to the next stage so that they can help somebody get to the next stage. And I'm like, if all these principles are the same, like, maybe personal development isn't talking about it too much, but my first video, hey, my name's Matt, I was homeless when I was 18 years old, this is my story. It was that now I can help other people. And that video was the start of my coat drive that I started back then, to go out and talk to the homeless people, because I was like, this is the only thing in my life that I've overcame. I've gotten out of prison and I've made it successfully. I have a roof over my head and I have a home now. So I wanted to help business people when I didn't run a business. So, like, that content didn't make too much sense. So I had to find something that I've learned through AA, but also through personal development, is when you help other people, like, you help yourself. And so, like, I was helping the people that needed me the most, that I could help with the information I had at that point, starting that coat drive. And I just went down to Detroit and I just shook hands and I shared my story and I told them where I'm at. And, you know, I'm not anywhere yet, but, like, I'm working towards this thing. I got some coats and some socks for you, whatever. And it just, like, you know, to answer your question, is like, that's those moments, and that moment when I made that first video sharing my story was the moment I realized that I need to help others. I need to be of service. My mother and I's relationship has been kind of rocky our whole lives, obviously, from the little I shared with you, but, you know, the last 7 years or so, when she saw that shift in me, she told me, I see you now, I see a different you, and we've been bonding our relationship ever since then. But
Happy for you, man.
yeah, no, it's, you know, it's still working through its thing, right? We're still figuring out what that looks like logistically, and I feel like it's 1,000 times better than it's ever been. But, like, you know, she set that tone forever, right? She led a life that I'm now living forever. Like, for the last 30 years, she's helped hundreds, if not thousands, of adults overcome addiction, stay sober, rebuild their bonds with their families. And I resented her a little bit for that at the beginning because she's never home. She's always out helping other people. And like, I'm home alone. I'm taking care of my younger brother. And then like, I just leave and go hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
But she set the tone. And like, so seeing her do that forever, like so many people on Thanksgiving, random people would just be in my house because they were in the program and they had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So my mom was like, come to our house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, she is an amazing individual. Like she's got an awesome story too,
Yeah.
right? And we walk very similar paths coming up. You know what I'm saying? So but yeah, I don't know, like kind of bounced around a little bit, but yeah, that's watching and seeing that my whole life. Like I knew that it was the right thing to do, and that's pushed me to all the stuff I do today.
So let's kind of get into what you're doing today before I, start asking you the final questions.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, right now you have a course
Mm-hmm.
for businesses to rescue restaurants, but also you're kind of taking a hands-on approach with me, collaboratively, and we're going to kind of go and start to interview, these restaurant owners. Talk about those two things that are happening right now.
Yeah. So on the original one, what I'm doing with the course, I'm really trying to build a community of like-minded restaurateurs, and I'm not trying to rescue them. And that was where my first mistake was with this content idea. I thought I was going to go in and like help these guys get to profitability, but I realized I needed to help good businesses go to great, and that's the pocket I want to be in.
Value.
I want to add value. I want to make sure that I'm there for them. I'm there for them every step of the way. And when they hit me up in a year and say, hey, what do you think about this? I can respond and be like, yes, do that thing. That's awesome. So, I spent a couple hundred hours building out the course and trying to say the right things in the easiest way to understand it, so that, because our restaurant owners, I came here late today because I was at the restaurant, right? Restaurant owners buy a business, and they buy a low margin business, meaning they have to spend a lot of time there to get a little bit of money, right? And so in that situation, like I've been fortunate enough to put people in place, but in that situation, I know other restaurant owners are always doing they always have something else going on. Like even when I'm talking to them now, some of them operate other businesses and the restaurant, so like they got their time tied, and going through that process of showing them how to do this in 15 minutes a day and saving them time. It's 3 hours a month that's going to take you to create all your content and push it out there so you can focus on the things that are important. Taking care of the guests in the house, taking care of your team, making sure that side of things is good. So that's really, I feel like, the role I'm playing. But I'm also learning paid advertising currently, because I believe that, again, the more value I can provide within this course in a specific niche, I did the math yesterday, having a social media manager and then someone running the paid side of things is an average about $137 a year, right? And if the average restaurant owner is taking home $60,000 a year, they can't afford to do that, right? But if you can help them create another $300,000-$400,000 a year in value back into their pockets, to their family, to their kids, that makes a lot of sense. It felt like the right approach. So I've been kind of building this out, but at the same time I had a kid at the same month I launched this thing. So it was a lot of just kind of juggling everything. And that led us to the podcast I had been thinking about since October. I'm like, what, should I rescue? Should I go in and show them because that was like bar rescue, Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. It was that theory for the content. But when I went and actually approached it and I did it with people, I'm like, it doesn't feel right, and I needed something that, again, provides value in a different way. So year one at Naps, I learned that there was this taco stand. They were selling for $3 and they got a Michelin star rating. I'm like, if they can do $3 tacos, why can't we get into Michigan, or have Red Naps do Michelin? We can take this thing serious, build it up, do it the right way. And then I realized that there's only 5 states that allow Michelin ratings, and Michigan wasn't one of them. So I was I kind of pumped the brakes on that idea. Maybe I can get enough attention through the videos to get them to do it. But then that idea plus how can I help restaurant owners clicked, and I was like, we can go out to the top tier restaurants in the state of Michigan, and we can act as if we're the Michelin person rating, share their story. And then what I also learned over the last few days is we can send to Michelin the restaurant and why they should be rated. So each one we go to will have the experience and give them an honest rating. The more emails that we send and the more video views we do, the likelihood of someone on that Michelin team seeing that and creating a chapter in Michigan, it goes up every video we post out. So I got really hype on that idea, and I was like, again, like I don't really have many people in my life that think the way that you do, and even the ones that do, like, I feel don't, like, aren't fully pot committed. And I feel like that's the difference. Every time I have a conversation with you, you are in this thing. You are committed to building yourself and being better and, like, growing and, like, just mindset and, like, you know, it's a forever game. And I think we both realize that, right? Like, on the outside, you know, it might seem like things are going good, but at the same time, it's like, you have to remember, it's like, we're still a work in progress. We're still young as hell, dude. Like, there's people that have been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years past us that have mastered these arts but are still learning, right? Still implementing new things. So I really believe with this podcast, we're going to be able to provide value to these restaurants and spotlight them. But at the same time, I have this crazy audacious goal to get Michigan a Michelin rated, like, state. And, like, no one may ever know about that, right? And, like, that might just be a thing where we're like, holy crap, we did that, you know? But at the same time, like, and for me, it sounds really exciting, like, just having this big audacious goal, because going back to 9-year-old Matt when he had his first lemonade stand that his entrepreneur neighbor set up for him, and he made his first $20 and he was like, this is it. Going back to that moment where I've just wanted to own my own business, when I finally got there, I realized that wasn't the full picture. I'd only been seeing 5 feet in front of me, when the reality was there's so much more out there, and there's so much more to business that I just didn't understand. I didn't know the difference between small business and big business. Like, there's two different sectors of the business world, and I want to play this big game because when I set my original goal, I accomplished it. But it wasn't totally it. So if I set these crazy audacious goals, like building a $1 billion brand, not that I want to become a billionaire, but having that, and then getting Michelin to come somewhere they've never been before and refuse, like, just don't come, like, these big goals feel a lot better than just wanted to own my own business. And I got there and I got 3, and I realized 1 is better than 3. And at the same time, it's like, I love playing ball on all sectors, so like maybe there's a balance between these things. But having a clearer vision, having these big audacious goals has really helped me kind of just push forward. So those are the projects I'm working on right now. Obviously, we're doing this one together, which I got a lot to share with you. I've been, like, diving deep, so but we can do that off camera and everything.
So I think this is a perfect segue into this question I like to ask. Because you've been through a lot, and because you're ambitious and you have grit, what is your definition of successful life?
That's a great question, because that's evolved so much over the years, just like, you know, myself has. And I think since my son got here, the overarching thing is, if I make it to the end and he's there and, like, wants to be there and isn't just showing up to show up because it's my dad, you know, I should probably be there. Like, that is a definition of a successful life. If I get to the end and, you know, my wife at the same time too, my wife and whatever other kids I have in the time being, but he was that switch for me. Whereas before, success looked a little bit differently. Right? Success was me just working 90 hours a week because that's what I really love to do, and just having my hands everywhere, and, like, you know, that at the time was success. But now it's like that, just getting to the end and having somebody there, because I will not have that with my father. Right? When I get to, like, I don't know if he's even alive. Right? I know his sister just passed away, but at the same time, it's like she's the one that kicked me out, and, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know. It was a good eye-opening thing for sure.
And I think that right there, what you just mentioned, right? Like, that's another moment in which life is happening for you, not to you, man. Because, you know, because you have those pain and anger and hurt, right, that you have within you, you're able to kind of channel that and learn and unlearn things so that you can become a great dad for your kid, for your son. And I think that's cool. And I think that sense of awareness and that desire is going to make you, you know, a great dad. And I think, you know, with, like, if you are in a position where you want to be better than your own parent, and you are better than your own parent, then your parent did a good job of kind of setting the examples where it needed to be, but also leaving you as somebody that always is striving. You know what I'm saying? Because and that credit goes to you the most, because you didn't let your hardships define you. You had grit, man, and I think that's why so many people, look up to you. Me being included, man. I'm tall as shit, but I look up to you, dog. and I appreciate you for not giving up, because the amount of good that you've done so far, but the amount of, like you say, we're really young, the amount of good that you're about to do from here on out, I think we're going to impact a lot of people. And for me, that's what my definition of success is. I learned that when I lost my grandpa, or our grandpa. So many people showed up at his funeral. I'm like, damn, how do you know all these people, right? And they're all like, Leo, you're the oldest, what? I'm like, yeah. He goes, he spoke highly of you, man. And also, he made a good impact in my life. I'm thankful he was part of mine. And that's when I knew. I was like, you know what? That's what success is. Like, it's not, how much money you accumulated, or, how cool you are, or whatever. Like, it's like, how do you feel about yourself when you leave this earth? Like, do you look at yourself in the mirror and say all of the negative things that you used to say to yourself? Yeah. Or are you looking at yourself in the mirror, proud, thankful, like, thank you, life, thank you, body, thank you, Leo, for allowing me to live this life for this tiny amount of time. Like, if you're exiting this world with that attitude, man, that's a successful life.
100%.
Dude. And I think, like you said, right, I think it's super important to be somebody that, cultivates relationships where people want to show up, not just to show up, but to show up for you.
Exactly.
And I think that's what my grandpa had at his funeral, and I want that for myself. And that's why I try to be as kind as I possibly can, no matter who individuals are, because, man, everybody's shit stinks, dude.
For sure.
Like, the richest man to the hottest woman that gets all the love and attention. We all come into this earth the same way, and we're going to leave the earth the same way. We all got problems. We all got, things that we're trying to overcome. And I think that's where I hope that the world can get to, man, where there's just so much circumstance-driven conversation, or like so much like intention-driven. Like, I'll give you an example. I want to talk to this guy because this guy can do something for me.
For sure. Exactly.
Or like, I want to talk to this girl because I have intentions with her. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's a take mindset.
It's a take mindset. Whether if we can all exist, and no matter who it is that's around us, we're always in a constant given mindset. It's a lot more comfortable to be around. And I think that's why, like, for me, I'm able to navigate rooms and people so well. And that's what I'm thankful for about myself, because I'm never going into it, meeting somebody thinking, ooh, this is what I want from this person. I'm like, hey, I already won. I'm alive, man.
Exactly.
Like, I don't need anything.
I woke up this morning.
God has my power, and then my body and my being, and then everything else, So it's just like, especially now that we're dads, man, like, I think we want. Like, we love what we do, we're with a significant other that we truly care about and love, and we can be best friends with, and now we got a kid that we love more than anything. Like, dude, God blessed us, dude. And I'm so glad God blessed you too, considering the fact that you went through what you went through. And now you have the ultimate thing, which is a family. Let's talk about that, man, before I ask you the final question.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, I think there's a misperception in this, especially in this world, in this country, where men and women relationship is kind of taking a hit.
Yeah.
Where men look at women as objects, and women don't want to be looked at objectively, but some women kind of have self-value for themselves, where they put themselves in that environment too. It's a mess at certain areas, right? Talk to me about the importance of, now that you're in a position where you're with your ride or die and you have a kid, like, isn't that freaking awesome? Isn't that something that everybody should be, boy and girl, should be striving to have?
Yeah, 100%. And I really think too is it's like, I had to get through a lot of bad relationships to get to where I was at, but this girl Athena, she saw me at the end of my darkest tales, right? She met me with a tether on my ankle because when I got out of prison, I had to have 6 months or 4 months in the house on tether, and like that's when she saw me. But she saw through that and saw who I was and who I was trying to become, and she was a good person. Like, you know, she was doing the right things before doing the right things even crossed my mind, right?
Yeah.
She had just always grown up that way. Good person, good girl, family oriented, like all the things that I wasn't. And that attracted me to her, you know? And she helped show me how to love myself. I was still in my depression. I was still coming off of that. And she really gave me the self-value. And like the first time in my life I felt love. And I was like, whoa. I need to start taking it like I need to love this guy as much as she loves this guy, you know? And like, so I think a lot of it comes down to like finding that right person, finding that person that shows you it's okay to love yourself, tells you it's okay to do these things, like actually genuinely wants to see you succeed. And her seeing me and being with me in the worst phase, and then now getting to be with me here, you know, almost 9 years later, it's like, you know, this is the version of me that she saw. Right, we had to get through the hard times, and me still being a knucklehead and fighting through those challenges. And you know, even when I opened this restaurant, she's like, "It's the thing you want to do it." Like, she just does it. Oh, you want to do this podcast with Leo? I think that's a great idea. Like, she pushes me towards the things that excites me. She has my back when I need it the most. Like when I'm working 3 jobs right now. I'm building 3 businesses. It's like, it's not the best plan of attack. I should be focused on one, right? But at the same time, it's where I'm at in the stage of life, and she's supportive of it, right? She's doing a great job raising our kid. She cares, like, I mean, this is her pride and joy, you know, this baby, like, it's her everything, just as it is for me. So, like, finding that person, that makes you love yourself and, like, allows you to and says it's okay, it's totally worth it. But you can't go to the bar to find that person most of the time. Like, maybe, right? But, like, find your love, whatever it is outside of it. Like, maybe it's pickleball. Maybe you find that person that has similar interests as you do. Like me and Athena, like, we're not totally similar interests. We do think a lot alike, right? But our interests are different, meaning like we can go do our own things and be comfortable with it, you know? But yeah, don't just jump into something, or just because your parents said that she's a nice girl, like maybe that's their perception. You have to live your own life. You have to find your own person. And I think it's totally worth it, you know? Like, I have some younger people that work for me at Naps, and they're still in their early 20s, late teens. They're in the party mode, right? They're having fun. It's college. It's this, it's that. And they're like, Friday night, Matt, what are you doing? It's the same answer every time. I get to go home to my son, and as soon as he goes to bed, my wife and I are going to hang out. We did the party stuff, you know, and they're like, oh, like, whatever, you know, and like, we're going to go hang out and get some drinks and da-da-da, and I'm like, that's awesome. Like, I did the same thing, right? Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, go back 7 years and someone would have said that to me, I would have felt so inclined to just go out and party. Like, I felt like I would have needed that. But the life I have right now, getting to come home to my wife and kid, like, it's so much better, you know?
Amen, brother. Amen. So, last question that I like to ask people, and I'm sure you know what this question is, man, but what are your 3 gratitudes today?
Yeah, and before I answer that, I do want to thank you for having me on. Like, again, being in the room with you always elevates me, makes me become a better person, and being involved in this podcast, like, it's just another layer of, like, I wanted you to get to know me a little bit better. Like, you obviously asked me to be on here, but I wanted to be as, like, open as possible in this situation, because not only, like, getting to know you better, but, like, everyone listening having the opportunity to, like, you know, maybe learn something from this as well. So
Yes,
I appreciate the opportunity.
You did just that.
So my 3 gratitudes, I don't want to go basic and say my son, but, like, bro, like, the mindset he gave me, right? The mindset he gave me, him being around and just looking at me and smiling at me, like, I'm super, super grateful for that. I'll just tap into my wife, because I told you how grateful I am for her, of, like, that whole story, right? That's a massive thing.
It's a ride or die right there.
100%. And my 3rd gratitude was just, you know, having the ability to, like, do this. Like, this isn't a chore for me, and, like, I have to be very selective of my time nowadays, because, again, managing 3 things plus trying to be present at home is, like, that's 4 things. It's, like, basically 4 businesses. And it's chop my time down so shortly. So like having the opportunity to do this and sit down today is a big gratitude for me, because like I want to make time for the things that I want to, and now like learning how to say no has been very challenging, but I've been very good at it for like the last year or so.
Good.
Maybe like 8 months, somewhere in that pocket. But regardless, I've been getting a lot better at it. So like I get to do this. I want to do this. Now I get to just do the things that I want to do, versus like I felt like I had to do all the events at NAPS because people asked me to, where I was just like, no, I'm not good at that skill. I don't want to do that thing. I don't care about the money enough to, go and get myself all crazy. So, so this is good. And I appreciate you like help guiding me through all this and asking good questions. Like not everybody has that ability to, like I've been in some interviews where I feel like it was just rough. You know what I'm saying?
It's rough.
Yeah, this was great. You're taking notes the whole time. You're asking good questions. So I'm grateful for all of it.
Thank you, Matt. And I'm gonna wrap this episode by sharing my 3 gratitudes. I think I'm gonna start doing this, Henry, where I'm gonna share my 3 gratitudes, but I'm gonna make it about the guest. Okay, so my 3 gratitudes about Matt today. I'm gonna have to say, Matt, I'm thankful for your grit, man. You're like Dan Campbell on those Lions, and I wonder why you like him so much. Okay. You got grit, and that grit is something that I think can go toe to toe with anybody in this world. I mean, when you look at your story and what you had to go through, bro, like I don't know if I would have been able to do it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't, and that's not to bring me down, but to lift you up, man. So I'm super thankful that you had that, because who I am looking at right now, I'm proud of him, and your kid and your wife is super lucky to have you as their, father figure. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also thankful for you for just being ambitious and not fucking, just bullshitting around anymore, and, hanging around with some cats that may bring you down. You're hanging around with cats that, that you want to emulate. And if you're not hanging around them, you're definitely consuming them by looking them up on the internet and watching their videos. So I hope that, I should say, I'm thankful that we were able to create something like this that hopefully impacts, a human being out here, the way a Gary Vee did to you, or Jay Shetty did to me, or Lewis Howes did to me, or, Tony Robbins did to you. Like all these guys, we want to be among, we want to sit at that table. We want to be one of those guys that can sit down and chop it up with them and bring something to the table, but also always having that learner's mindset to listen. So I think, and that's the third thing, man. I think you're a very, your spirit is good. Your spirit is good, dude. And I know that you've been in roles in life in which the people may have deemed you as a bad spirit due to the, the circumstances and the mistakes that you may have made. But I look at your story, man, and I just think you aren't dealt with the strongest Pokemon cards, but you kept drawing out of that deck, and you sacrificed the ones that you needed to, and you invested into the ones that you needed to. And I think I'm totally making this Pokemon reference because you're a fan of it, and I'm Japanese, but you have evolved yourself into a very impressive Pokemon hunter. You are a real life Satoshi. You really are. Thank you. Well, so thank you, man, and thanks for everybody who tunes in. I'm super thankful, obviously. Henry, thank you to you, man, for always coming and recording this, and helping me with the post-production process. And guys, if you really like this, always subscribe and like. I never thought I would be saying these things, but now I know why those guys all say that. Please do those things, because we want to get the word out. We want to get good people like this out here and amplify their voices. So Matt, if there's anything that you want to tell people before we head on out here, anything that you want to say?
One thing that I always like to say is like, treat others how you want to be treated, but from a business standpoint, like put your foot into your employee's shoes and realize that you work for them and they don't work for you, because at the end of the day, you couldn't do this alone. And that goes with life and in business and whatever it is. It's important to have good people around you that uplift you and just take care of one another. Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Another successful episode. Thank you so much to all of you tuning in from around the world who speak English. And arigatou gozaimasu to all the people who are out in Japan. 日本の皆様、どうもありがとうございます。Matt, thank you, man. We're going to go out to Japan one of these days.
Yes.
We're going to do some restaurant reviews out there. I'm telling you, it's going to be a great video. But stay tuned for the interviews that we're about to do with the restaurant owners. And, stay tuned for these pieces of content that's coming out. Well, it already is out if you're watching it, right? So, my bad. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. It's your boy Leo Ayrault here. Matt, thanks again. That's Matt Do Right. Go follow him on all social platforms. And see you next episode.